Hey guys, welcome to the Save and Continue podcast, where we get together and talk about video games and video game related stuff. As always, I'm Shanae Howard. With me is Tommy Shelby
Hello.
and Ryan Robinson.
Hi.
We're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little bit off schedule, but I'm
Yeah.
glad we're back at it.
Yeah.
I have finished Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh
and,
shit. How many times?
Just the once. I think I'm gonna try and platinum the game. It is gonna take a lot of grinding, and I'm a little bit I'm kind of feeling burnt out on the collection tasks because they're not it's not very challenging in like activity that you're doing. It's just finding the things.
Yeah.
And so it's getting a bit tedious. So I've been taking a little bit of break. Um, I saw like a post or something online, and they're like, "Yeah, if you're like don't know what video game to play, just put a little bit of time in another hobby, and then you can come back and you'll probably find something you really like." So, I've been reading because I haven't really read a lot this year, and playing a lot of Marvel Snap still.
Nice.
I and especially now that like you can play against people, still super fun.
Haven't played against me
And
yet.
we haven't.
So
And yeah, that's about it as far as like video games are concerned.
What are you reading, Shanae? The Bible?
Yes, the Bible.
Yeah. What chapter are you on?
Job?
Yeah.
No,
Gob.
yeah.
I don't know, whatever. I don't know why I'm acting embarrassed when I like proudly like proclaim my love of Otome games, and they are
Oh,
definitely
but you
more.
don't want to tell us what you're reading? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I got a little
That's okay. You
embarrassed.
don't have
I got
to.
a little no. It's So I've been seeing a lot on TikTok, like this. A lot of people making jokes about the series A Court of Thorns,
I've never heard of it.
and I think it's Thorns and Roses. Anyways, but I got the book off the library app, so it's just like it's a. I think it's like I'm pretty sure it's smutty. I'm pretty sure that's why everybody loves it. So
Yeah.
I don't know how horny this book is, but it seems like it's going to get pretty horny. So yeah, I'm just reading that. It's fun. It's I don't know, like a bit of an easy read. I don't really see why like it seems to have a large audience that really likes to make content about it yet. But yeah, I mean, I'm only like like 4 or 5 chapters in. So
That's pretty cool, dude. You know, I was part of a book club for several years, a few years back, and like, you know, we took turns picking books. So you end up reading a lot of stuff that you like normally wouldn't pick for yourself to read. And a lot of the like real smutty romance stuff were like, while you could recognize they weren't good, like they were page turners, you know?
They did the
yeah.
job.
Yeah.
No, they're easy reads. Like they're really
Yeah.
easy. Like it's easily consumable. Like nothing about it is like really thought provoking, and I'm not really having a whole lot of like questions as I go through it. I'm just allowing
Right.
the story to set its own pace. Which like some of those more in depth books or ones that have like more philosophical ones, or I like to read a lot of I like to read a lot of biographies of people who've had interesting lives, like
Yeah.
CIA negotiators and things like that, just to see what those types of people that are so opposite to me like think and feel about stuff. So like yeah, it's really nice to like I don't know. I haven't really read like a lot of. I mean, I was reading Harry Potter, but that was like the last comfort reading. This is like the first new, besides like some fan fictions, like more consumable like reading that I've done.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just having fun with that. What have y'all been up to?
The only game I've been playing is Power Wash Simulator.
Nice.
And I finished up the
I've been
Final
seeing people talk
Fantasy.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, it blew up for sure, right?
Makes your brain feel good.
Yeah, I just finished the Final Fantasy VII stuff for that, and that was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with it or not, but like it's very good for like playing co-op and just talking with your buddy. You
Yeah,
know,
that's fun.
like it's a chat room game. Like that's what that is. You know,
Yeah.
for me anyway. But I'm having fun with it. As much fun as you could have with it. And one thing I want to talk about, I'm about halfway through watching Psych Odyssey. And for those that don't know what Psych Odyssey is, so Double Fine, they've got like an in-studio production house called Two Player Productions who does documentaries of a lot of their things. So they did like the Amnesia Fortnite movie. They did Double Fine Adventure. Psych Odyssey is their most recent one. And what it is like 36 or so episodes of the entire development of Rhombus of Ruin and Psychonauts 2.
Hmm.
And it's just like maybe the most ambitious documentary I've ever seen. Like, regardless of it being like a video game thing, you know? It's like 7 years of footage that they had to boil down into like this 36 episode of what feels like a TV show, right? Like, it feels very much like you're watching a reality show. And like, I think there's value there, whether you're a fan of Double Fine or not, whether you're a fan of Psychonauts or not. I think like if you're a fan of reality TV, you would probably find it entertaining, you know?
Oh, who's your favorite character?
Well, and that's funny, right? Like, because it is like, it's real people, but they do feel like characters and they do edit it in a way to where there are these arcs to the show, you know? And there are people that you might think of as good guys or villains, you know, but they're real people. And I think it's like one of the most honest looks at the game industry, uh, just because like it's Double Fine, right? Like people think of Tim Schafer and they think of him as like the funny, nice video game developer, you know? And like even him, the head of the studio, like they show him sometimes not in the best light, you know? Um, it's very very good. I recommend everybody watch it. Uh, and then other than that, the only other gaming related thing is like I've been reading a lot of old Archie digests, right? I got like a lot of them that like basically span the history of video games, right? Like since their inception until now. And what's great about it, I mean, Archie doesn't ever play any video games really, but like what's great about it is like all the ads, uh, like going back to like the earliest consoles up until now, just seeing the evolution of those ads is very very interesting.
Yeah, you posted some of those ads in the Discord, and
Yeah,
I had read like Archie here and there when I was a kid, and like I remember once in a while seeing like a Genesis ad or like a Super Nintendo ad, and like that just really
yeah,
reminded me of that.
yeah.
uh, so I downgraded some of my accounts to like ones that have ads in it for some of my streaming services. So I've been seeing a lot more. I went than I ever have. And I will say Nintendo Switch ads are normally just so crisp and clean like they're like any like PlayStation or Xbox or other console games are normally just like so much busier. And I really appreciate the aesthetics of Nintendo ads.
Are they still hanging out at their 20-something party on the rooftop playing that thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, the families
Mm.
and very nice living rooms never have any toys out
Sure.
except
Yeah.
And you get
except for the remotes.
let's get grandma in on this bowling, right? So
What about you, Ryan?
mostly, like so the new Destiny 2 expansion came out a couple weeks ago. So I've been playing a lot of that. Um, it's been pretty fun so far. They introduced a new subclass called Strand, which has been a lot of fun to mess around with. Um, Basically lets you swing around that game like Spider-Man and punch dudes in the face. So I've been really liking that. And also I've been playing Control some more.
Mhm.
Um, that game continues to be endlessly interesting. Um, just all around fascinating. I did a level, or I guess I did a section of the game where Tom, I'm sure you remember this, the maze that's like a hotel and
A
like
maze. Yeah, it's
yeah,
called the Ashtray Maze.
yeah, and it's just very interesting. Like as you're walking, like the walls are shifting and like the floors are moving and stuff. It's like it's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
Remedy always does like a music level.
yeah,
I say level, or their games don't typically have levels, but they
yeah,
always do like a music area of their
right,
games. And yeah, the Ashtray Maze is that in
right.
Control.
Um, so that's been a lot of fun, and then I've been playing I've been playing more Wild Hearts. Um,
Nice.
Mostly just trying to kind of trying to like the game is really cool, but like the whole thing is that like the newest Monster Hunter Rise expansion is out on PlayStation now, and I can't get it at the moment, so I've been using Wild Hearts to kind of make myself feel a little bit better about that. Um, but Wild Hearts is still a great game in its own right, and they just did an update where they added a little bit of content to the game. So, um, but that's basically been it. I've been reading books too. I'm on book 6 of The Expanse. I've read 3 books
Nice.
this year. That's pretty cool because I usually read 0 books per year.
Bricks. No, I read Zero Bricks. I have also read Zero Bricks.
But like reading, like, because I got some friends into it, and one of my friends is on book 2. And
Mhm.
I've read like I've read 3 books since they started reading the Expanse. So I've really never really been into reading until like this year. I never really had the attention span for it. But lately I've been reading a lot. So the Expanse is real good, and I'm gonna watch the TV show when I'm done. So that's
Uh,
about it for me.
the TV show is quite good, actually. Um, so kind of video game adjacent. Also this week, I forgot to mention. So my sister's in town, for this month, and I've mentioned before that she really loves Splatoon,
Mm.
and she
Yeah.
actually made friends that live like all over that she's never met in real life, uh, in Splatoon, and now like hangs out in a Discord with them and like plays with them regularly.
That's
Well,
cool.
a couple of them live in Corpus Christi, so this past Saturday, one of them drove up, and we all went to a farmers market together,
That's cool.
and yeah, she got to meet her in persons, and then later, like, she's like, "Came in, hang out here," the other day, and, like, so I got to talk to them on, like, their Discord while she played, because she's, like, over here just hanging out playing Splatoon, and I was on my phone. But yeah,
Splatoon bringing people
uh,
together.
I ate some Japanese Splatoon candy this week.
How'd you
how
like
was
it?
it?
And like it's weird, right? You open it up and it's like there's this plastic tray and there's these 4 what look like little clear ketchup packets,
Sure.
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
With different color goop in there.
Yeah, that's the ink.
And so you open it up and like it's got the consistency of like honey. Like it
Okay.
sticks all over your fucking fingers and shit, you know?
I don't like that.
But it tastes like jello.
Mm.
I
It
do
was
like
not
that.
good.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't
Yeah.
care. Yeah, I don't like sticky stuff on my fingers, and I don't like the taste of Jello. So
Yeah.
count me out.
No. My
Well, you know,
sister
what other kind of candy you gonna make with Splatoon other
Yeah,
than goop? You know, so
gushers. Make yourself some
yeah.
gushers.
actually, that makes sense.
Gushers isn't really candy, you know?
I feel
Mm.
like I feel like fruit snack or gushers are like in that line of fruit snacks that is basically candy.
Sure, but like if I go trick or treating and somebody puts fruit snacks in my bucket, I'm gonna be pissed, you know?
But if they're
I
gushers, are
I
you
would
cool with it?
No.
I would have been. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I got Gushers at some Halloween.
Hmm. Well, I think gushers count as candy. That's all I'm saying.
If the gushers count as candy, then fruit roll up counts as candy.
I would.
And a fruit roll up ain't candy.
Well, what is it?
It's a fucking fruit roll up.
How much fruit do you think is in an actual fruit roll up?
0, unless your friend's, your next door neighbor's mom makes that fruit roll up.
Oh,
Then there's a lot of fruit in it.
yeah. Do those taste
Because,
better or worse?
okay, well, look, Ryan, when you and I were growing up, you remember those circular, like cylindrical plastic food dehydrators that all the white moms had?
Yes, I remember those.
Where you could, like, make really bad beef jerky
Yep, it's
or
always
really
terrible.
bad, like, fruit, like banana chips.
They thought they were killing it.
You know? Right.
I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
Yeah, dude. In the 90s, there were like these cylindrical shaped food dehydrators.
Yeah.
And moms would make really bad banana chips in there. And also fruit roll ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My mom has made some apple jerky. Like, I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
like, that's
Those
not,
two
like,
things don't even go together.
Yeah.
You know?
Explains a little bit, though.
yeah, but like, you just use the oven. You use the oven to dehydrate. You don't need like a new tool to like a whole I mean,
Yeah.
that's so weird. Like,
Who
how
does your
much
mom
stuff
think
are you-
she was fooling with apple jerky?
I promise you, Sinead, this was a common thing.
No, I'm not saying it
Yeah.
wasn't for like either this region or like or whatever. It just like it just never hit. I guess like the military bases.
Yeah.
Mm.
The government won't allow them to have it. I don't know. That's so weird.
I guess if like someone told me I was getting jerky and they handed me some apple jerky, I would be pretty annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, I
It's
like
kinda-
apples and I like jerky, but not together.
So like it's like kind of looks like a chamoy. Like it's like if like whenever like the chamoy is like on like a stick or something, like
Mhm.
it's not like it's more similar in consistency to that than like beef jerky.
Sure.
Anyways, not the point, not video game related.
Apple
but yeah, apple
paste.
jerky. Yeah, but like it's dehydrated, so it's like all one piece, kind of like a fruit roll up
I see.
meets. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing. Anyways. Yeah, also this week, I know y'all have I don't believe that y'all have watched it but The Last of Us finished.
I watched it.
Um
I'm like 4 episodes behind.
Yeah, so don't
So,
say nothing.
I had a question though about like y'all's opinions because I've been
Okay.
wondering this. So I think that it is a great adaptation of the video game
Mhm.
into like a live action show or movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder like if people are like, oh, like they're like a lot of people are saying this is the best one ever, and I want to know,
Kind of a low bar though.
yeah, but like why is this one so good? Is it just because it is like it doesn't really have anything like super like science fictiony? Like it has like yes, it has like the bloaters and like stuff like that, but no one has like special powers.
Mhm.
Even like the immunity thing, it doesn't really work like
Against bullets.
Say,
yeah, or does it doesn't also just like she can't just like oh she's immune to the cordyceps bites and she can just like touch someone's forehead and they're immune. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing
Yeah.
like easy about it. It's like pretty low fantasy as far as like
look. While I like the show, I don't think it's as good as people are making it out to be. I do
I
like it
haven't
though.
finished it, so
That's true. But B, The Last of Us as a game already felt like a prestige television
I
show.
was going to say exactly that.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's why it translates so well because it's already written that way. And
yeah, because it's like this about The Last of Us, like not necessarily like the zombies, like like Left 4 Dead versus like some versus The Last of Us. Like they both have zombies, but there's a very different focus on and lens on how the people are viewed.
Well, I do think that a lot of the time when you're talking about stuff with zombies or anything that could be interpreted as a zombie, it's very often that whatever it is not actually about the zombies. And I just think that like I think that because of the way that game was written, it already translates so well to that format, which is because like a lot of video games
Because there's no translation needed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So like a lot of video games, like there's a lot of time when you adapt a video game, there's like a lot of like filling in like a lot of gaps and blanks that are there if you want to adapt it and like form some kind of cohesive storyline, right? And I just think that with The Last of Us, like that stuff was already there. So you just kind of put your actors in place and you start rolling. And I think that they added a few little extra things that weren't in the game or whatever. But I think that like it's
Like
really
all of episode 3.
uh yeah, but I also think that like a lot of that stuff is just so the way that the game was written, it's like really easy to attach stuff like that to the story and those characters. So I think that's really what it is, and I think that's probably why it's doing so well.
Is there any games that you can think of that would lend themselves into being a live action adapt that like as easy as like The Last of Us?
As easily.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think like there's the obvious ones, right? Like Telltale's Walking Dead, I think could very easily be adapted, but
It is
like
because it's based off of a TV show.
no, it's based off of the comic book, which the TV show is also based off of. But
Well,
like, you know, I mean, I think it's better written than that TV show is.
yeah,
I think that
that's
video game is written better than that television show is. You
yeah,
know,
that's
yeah.
that's
but you know, I mean, yeah, that's kind of low hanging fruit, though, right? I don't know. I mean, I think there are other stories that are really, really good that, you know, for long form fiction could work, but
hmm
as easily as that, I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know.
Do you think that you'd be at all interested in watching What Remains of Edith Finch, the movie?
No,
I,
not at all.
I feel like for me at least, I can only speak for myself, but I think with that, like a large part of the connection with that is the interaction that I have with it.
Yeah,
I feel
exactly.
and I feel like if you take that away from me, then I'm disconnected, and I don't think it hits as hard. And I also think that like I don't know, I think that like there is like the idea of like watching that as like a passive experience like on a TV show seems like a little
Well, I say the movie, like, because I'm thinking specifically something like Into the Spider-Verse for each different section where they
Yeah,
have
but there's
different.
got to be some interaction there. Like that's what makes that game. The story is great, but like the interaction is a big part of that narrative. It's the same thing with like, you know, Crunchyroll recently started airing the Nier Automata anime, which I intend to watch, and I'm sure I will enjoy. But like, there are things you cannot replicate with television or film, you know.
mhm.
Um, and it's not like, you know, like The Last of Us. I think it's fine because the gameplay was not a big part of that story. In
Yeah.
fact, I'd go as far as to say that the gameplay was not a big part of that game, you know. but
The
but
ending
like
hospital scene was pretty tough, and I stopped playing the game because I couldn't get past the gameplay.
no, I'm not saying like it was easy. I'm just saying like the gameplay is
Mhm.
not at all what makes that a good game.
Yeah.
Not
That's
one
fair
bit,
enough.
you know. But the gameplay of Edith Finch and the gameplay of Nier are what like they are intrinsically tied to those narratives,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm. I think as someone who has a lot of fondness for the narrative, I think Destiny would do pretty well adapted as like a television show, I think. Um
Yeah.
I think
I
that
would love I would love to see Destiny as a sort of office mockumentary style TV show.
uh
I would also
And
like
like the
that.
enemy, like a rival office.
I actually think that like that would probably actually work better than you think, just because of like there is a lot of like internal politics that are involved in that storyline, and I think that could actually work really well. um I think though that you would have to kind of like I do think that the tone of Destiny is pretty dour, so like for that to work, I guess you'd have to like lighten things up a little bit. But
Just put Michael Scott actually in it. Ignore and never acknowledge that the office actually exists.
um
But like,
I think that though as is, I think that story would do really like I think that the pacing of that story would lend itself really well to like an episodic dramatic television show.
But I was thinking, like, you're talking about Edith Finch, Shanae, and like, if you think about like the gameplay section where you're doing Lewis's story, and Lewis is the one that works in the fish cannery, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's one of my favorites.
So you're taking a fish and you're chopping the head and you're sliding it down the conveyor belt. And as you're doing that, other shit's happening, right? In your mind, other shit is happening, but you are doing that action for like a solid 10 minutes, right? And that's part of the story. The repetitiveness of that task is a very important part of that story. And like, I think you could replicate that in TV, but like, how big of balls would a director have to like have a shot of somebody cutting fish heads for 10 minutes on a TV show? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to get greenlit. Like,
Well, like, I think, I do think that you're right, because I think that when we're watching something like
A24 would do it. Have you seen The Lighthouse? That shit is boring as fuck.
I could see that, but like, and I do think if there were a studio who would adapt that property, it would probably be them. But but yeah, you're right, Tom, because I think that when we're watching like a movie or a television show, like our imagination is kind of already being engaged by like what we're watching, and I think that like putting ourselves in the frame of mind of like, I'm doing this really tedious task, and to like occupy myself, like I'm letting my mind wander and like go to other places. And I think that like in Edith Finch, you're already doing that, like by virtue of playing a video game,
right?
With engaging with the task directly, I think it makes it more relatable, and I think that that's a lot of what makes I think that's a really huge component of that story, is like how relatable some of those stories are. So yeah, but I would love to see someone try to adapt that scene specifically, but there's also some other stuff in that game that I think would I would not like to watch in the form of a film.
Yeah.
Honestly, but
also, like, while there are like games I would like to see made into film or TV shows, I also think like they were great as games.
Sure.
And we don't feel the need to adapt all media. There are certain things we do, right? For a long time, we felt the need to adapt plays and books and things like that. But like,
and comic books.
Yeah, and comic books, right? But like, very rarely are people like, "Well, hey, let's adapt that painting," or that song, or whatever. Right? It happens, right? But it's very, very seldom.
To be any kind of fair, like, we also don't say like, hey, adapt those curtains and hey, adapt that rock, but like those are obviously very small pieces of like that shows up in media. Like, I don't know, like say like I don't.
But like, what story is that rock trying to tell?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, he's talking about like things that are like meant to tell like some kind of story, and trying to like cross over to like make that story reach a wider audience. You know?
But also, like, paintings aren't necessarily trying to tell a story. They may be trying to convey a feeling.
Sure.
But not necessarily a story. And that's but like the books and comic books and plays that we adapt are trying to tell a story, so it makes sense why we want to bring those to a visual medium. I feel like it's just like
video games are already a visual medium.
A different visual medium. I don't know what else to call it. Lack a better term, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like the complaint of like we don't, or not the complaint, the comparison of like we don't adapt paintings, but we adapt, or songs, but we adapt books or plays, is not like a fair comparison.
It is fair. I mean, I disagree. There are songs and there are paintings that have been adapted into other art forms. I just don't think that it's necessary. I think like they stand. Look, when 90% of the time, probably more than that, right? Probably like 98% of the time, the product that we get is not a product anybody wants. I just don't see a reason to keep doing it when the existing product is already so good on its own.
So I got a question. So I'm thinking about times when something was adapted to like, movie or television form, and it didn't really resemble much of the thing that it's like the source material. Um, I think one of like the most common things, one of the most common like criticisms I've heard is like for Final Fantasy, the Spirits Within, right?
Yeah.
I think that the movie itself is fine, right? But like
Mhm.
it doesn't really. The only thing that I can think of in that movie that resembles Final Fantasy is that there's a character named Sid in it. Outside of that, there's like nothing characteristically Final Fantasy about it.
Yeah.
Um, outside of its name and that one aspect. And I guess my thing is like obviously there's the whole component of let's use this big name to sell this other thing, but I also wonder like outside of that, like what is the point of like adapting a property to another medium and then not using really anything that property?
See, I think that's actually the better way to do it, and I think that's when we see the most success, right? The Spirits Within obviously was not a success, right? But like, it's not like they had this other thing and slapped Final Fantasy on it. The production of that started as a Final Fantasy title,
Right.
and I think while it doesn't have chocobos in it or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like, it still captures the spirit of a lot of those games. Narratively, I think it does.
Within those games.
Yeah, right. Sure. Maybe that's why they called it that. And I think
Wait,
that's what's
then
important.
explain Advent Children to me.
I don't know. I mean, that tried to be more of a direct thing, right? But like, when we talk about things that have had some success, I think about like critical success, right? I think about like The Last of Us, and The Last of Us really makes me think of Art School Confidential, which was a Dan Klaus comic, and then made into a movie, a low budget movie, right? And Dan Klaus wrote the screenplay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil Gaiman helped with the production of The Last of Us TV show. And I think like when the creators of the source material are included in the production of the adaptation, it helps a lot. And both of those, right? 8-Ball and Ghost World, Art School Confidential, Ghost World are very different from their comic book iterations. And The Last of Us, from what I've seen, is quite different from the video game. Mm-hmm. But like, they still like capture the spirit of that narrative. You know,
I have been of the mindset that like adaptations, where adaptations are concerned, the source material should be a guidepost, not a blueprint.
Right.
And so, I think that like I think the most important thing is not necessarily including the components that make that property what it is, and more include like the essence of what it is, and like kind of communicate the same like overall sort of message of what that thing is, as opposed to like making sure like, because I think that I do think that a 1-to-1 adaptation, I think that's a lot less interesting than
100%.
Because like what is the point, right? Because I've seen that already, right? And I get it. A lot of adaptations are for people who haven't engaged with the original property. I get that, but
there's plenty of people that will put all of the cutscenes all on YouTube for you. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah, we don't need like
yeah,
because like I loved like Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah.
And then I played a little bit of Cyberpunk, and I know CD Projekt Red was involved a lot with the making of that anime and the Netflix team and everything. So I like another example, agreed. Like I do think it's better when they do it differently, or like do some sort of prequel where it's not necessarily directly the story.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think it can be a direct adaptation and be good. I just think like that's not what's important.
Close to that as I've seen, and it still be good.
So
what's that?
I said The Last of Us is the closest I've seen to being a direct adaptation.
Yeah. Well, like I really like the Gus Van Sant remake of Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. And like a lot of people hated that because it is literally a shot for shot recreation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that takes a lot of fucking skill. Apparently not a lot of people agreed with that, you know.
So like okay, so Netflix did an adaptation of Dragon's Dogma a few years back.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like that show, and they didn't like that show for a lot of the reasons that I like Dragon's Dogma, and that is that like the story is like I can never decide if it's supposed to be as goofy as it is, or if it's just like it's just unironic. They just unironically made it that way, and I just happen to find it like sort of janky. But it's like there's
I think
part of
that's the case.
yeah. Well, like that's what I kind of find endearing about it, right?
Yeah.
And so like the show is just like that, I feel like. And so in that way, like it doesn't have all the things that you would find in Dragon's Dogma, right? But like it has the things in it that like that communicate that this is this is definitely based on that property. And like yeah, it does have like it does have some things in it that I don't care for. Like I do not like things that involve any kind of sexual violence at all. But like overall, I do think that like a lot of it is like really faithful to the source material, just in the way that the story is being told. So, but it's just not one-to-one. It's not a one-to-one Dragon's Dogma adaptation, but it's like you can still tell what it is if you've played Dragon's Dogma.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we forgot about the best one-to-one direct makeover, the Netflix Castlevania series.
Ugh. Ugh. I don't know. It's not one to one by any
Oh
means,
no,
right?
yeah. I was
It
gonna
is
see.
most derivative of 3, but like I don't mind that they changed it. I just think it's got such bad writing, you know. Like I like the animation. I think it looks great. I think
Yeah,
the story that they're telling is good. But like the actual dialogue, the written dialogue, I think is fucking bad.
Yeah.
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 It also has the sexual assault as plot point thing going on.
I think it's
No
just
problem with sexual assault as a plot point, you know, in fiction. I think like that can be used to make a good, compelling story. It's not intended for you to enjoy that that section, you know. But I don't know.
I think it's just because I'm tired of seeing it in general that
Yeah.
I'm just like, it feels like when I see it as like, oh hey, this thing is supposed to like symbolize it. And yeah, I know it's like a real like that is a lot of people's worst moment of their life and like a
Yeah.
turning point. But it's still, I don't know. It just feels like it just always feels like lazy writing because I've seen it so often.
I think a big thing with something like Castlevania is that like because I think I watched like the first I think I watched like one I don't know if I watched the second season all the way through or not. I can't remember,
Oh, I
but
watched all 4, 5.
but it's a very much a show that kind of like I feel like it's one of those shows where you go to it specifically for the fights. And I think that when you have something like that is like very reliant on that specific component of the presentation, I think that definitely like the dialogue will kind of fall to the wayside and just not be, because I think that like I'm not there to I guess I'm not necessarily expecting to see like Trevor Belmont to have any sort of like meaningful character development. And I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just going to watch him like cut these vampires' heads off for a while. I'm not saying it has to be that way. I'm just saying that like that's the understanding that I was given like very early on. And it kind of I was kind of just able to maintain that because that's kind of how it was.
I get that. I just think that like that timeline of games, which they seem to be trying to follow, has some very compelling plot points.
Yeah.
that it's just like it feels like a total missed opportunity.
I think it's more kind of jarring a lot of the time when like things are adapted in a way that like where maybe the main character is kind of like barely a character at all, and they're kind of just like your avatar in that world, right? Like I'm thinking, because I remember like there's always like some kind of like rumor or something about like a Half-Life movie, right? And I just wonder like, well, Gordon Freeman never talks, and so I have no idea what that dude's personality is. So like how do you adapt that character when
You
like
don't focus on Gordon.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
well but at the same time, right, like I don't necessarily think he's got to be in the movie. I think you can definitely make him. I think if you were going to make a Half-Life movie, it would not be a Gordon Freeman Half-Life movie. But
I think like Gordon can be there, right? Like you can have him cause the incident without having to have any dialogue and have that still be interesting, But
yeah,
you don't need to have like he doesn't need to be on camera. The camera doesn't need to be on him at all times.
no, I don't think so. But I also know how people are about adapting popular properties, and I know how they tend to usually do it. And
Yeah.
it seems very much like a lot of the time what they'll do is they'll take someone who is like kind of barely a character and try to like create a personality for them for the sake of um putting this thing on film. And that's just kind of like a little bit more jarring to me.
Yeah.
But there are also adaptations that people like just do not like that I just thoroughly enjoy, right? Like I love the Doom movie from 2005. I love that fucking movie. I think that movie is great. Because it's just very campy and it's very
But
like
it doesn't feel like a Doom movie though. It just feels like a movie.
yeah, but like even still, like I think that like it's still, I think again, we're talking about like one of the situations where we are borrowing from the property without including too much like as far as components that make that thing what it is,
Yeah.
and just more like kind of trying to bring forth like the spirit of what it is, right? And like again at the time, like there wasn't a whole lot of storytelling within Doom, and so there's a lot of what they're doing is kind of again filling in blanks and like even inventing new characters for the sake of like telling the story. um so I don't know, that's one of those times where like a lot of people just seem to really not like it, but it's just one of those things. But like as a fan of things that are like really campy and fun, I really enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I just think it's
Uh,
also really, really easy to be self-serious about it, right? Like I think it's really easy to just like be, because I think we talked about this before, like how precious people are about adapting things that they like. And
yeah.
I think it's okay to do something that's like kind of out there and like have fun with it.
Yeah,
But
I mean I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that the thing that you've made is good. You know what I mean?
well, no, but like you could
like
also
like
like
I am not like I really you and I have talked about this before, Ryan, about like people who like post like, oh, they released this thing and this ruined my childhood or whatever. Like I think that's some dumb shit.
yeah,
Like the thing you liked is still there.
yeah,
Uh
usually.
but yeah, right. But yeah, most of the time, right? But I can still acknowledge that like that doesn't make the new project good.
Well, no, like, and I'm not saying necessarily that if like you're doing something that's like fun and like a little different, that's not necessarily going to automatically make it good. But I do think
No.
it's like important to like try to do something that is, that is putting like an original kind of spin on it is, I think, it's like a valuable endeavor just the same.
It can be.
It might turn out bad, but like I think it's worth trying it just anyway.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not the studio putting money behind it, so like what is like what do I know? But that's just what I think.
Uh, I don't know. As far as like adaptations go, like I feel like if it has like any sort of whimsy like in it or like any sort of like jokey not seriousness, like you either have to lean lean really into it or like ignore it to make it cohesive with like the rest of it. Like I'm trying to give a good example because I know I'm explaining it terribly, like usual. Uh, Never mind.
I remember when that Warcraft movie came out, and
Mm.
like I don't like I'm gonna say that I don't know if it's good or bad. I watched it, but like I was just so confused most of the time.
Yeah.
It felt like it was like a that movie feels like a weird dream because like I just had no idea like what was happening most of the time. And I kind of just started thinking to myself like maybe Warcraft didn't need to be a movie after all, right? But then like I also think about that really long running fucking Resident Evil movie franchise.
Yep.
And like a lot of those, like I've seen a few of them, and they don't really like they don't from what I could tell, honestly, they don't really uh resemble the games too much in like visually, outside of like some of the weird monsters and the zombies or whatever. But I don't know, that was something that people seem to really like because they made 8 of those fucking things. But I also
I mean, critically, they did very badly. You
yeah
know, it's the Chinese market. Same thing with
yeah
Transformers. We keep getting more Transformers films, and you would wonder why, because they all tank here. But it's because they do very, very well overseas. You know.
yeah.
I really want to see someone like playing, like starting like Resident Evil games, like playing and just being like, "When is Mila Jovovich gonna show up?"
Guarantee that happened at least once.
So
Oh,
I
100%. Like
remember
some probably I figured, or I think that most probably figured it out pretty early on to the game, especially since
Yeah.
the internet exists, and
yeah
just being like, so like playing the games and be like, I don't see her showing up. Like the story doesn't add up, and looking it up, like, oh, it's different.
yeah.
But I want to know the ones that like just powered through it, like got through most of the game, and just like, what the fuck is going on?
So I remember when the Monster Hunter movie came out, and so in Monster Hunter World they did an event where you play as Mila Jovovich and
Mhm.
you hunt a monster as her, and she's speaking Monster Hunter language, which
Mhm.
is like kind of like about as funny as like that time I watched Katy Perry sing one of her songs in Simlish. Um, and it's like a very weird thing because like you hang out with Mila Jovovich for like the 15 minutes it takes to do this mission, and then like she's just done, and it's like a very weird thing where like
Like, bye, I guess.
yeah, but
But the
it's
Simlay stuff, I think, is great. Like, that's one of my favorite things about those Sims games is like
The
the at the
Simlish?
time contemporary music being
yeah.
put into those
I mean
games. Like, it's intentionally stupid and it's very, very good. You
yeah. I
know?
mean, but it's good and it's also funny because it's
Yeah.
like because I don't know,
Like Nelly Hot in here in Simlish is fucking gold.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, probably better
What?
than the original.
Yeah, Nelly.
Yeah,
Oh, Nelly Hot in here. Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, but I don't know. I think that a lot of the time when I hear about a video game adaptation, I admit I will at least be willing to like give it a shot because I think that there are worse things than than watching a bad movie for me personally because I like watching movies in general. And I don't really necessarily feel like my time is being wasted because I'm usually entertained in some way. Um, and I think I've also let go, like I said, I've let go of like being really serious about how I feel about how something is adapted. Because like Tom said, like even if I don't like it, the source material or the thing that I enjoy is still there, and I can just engage with that if I want to. I don't necessarily have to enjoy like somebody else's take on it.
See, and I do agree with you on a lot of what you're saying, Ryan, but like, I don't want to waste my time watching a bad movie. You know?
Yeah,
I would rather waste my time watching a good movie or playing a good game or whatever, right? There's too much good stuff out there. I don't have enough time for all the good things. why waste
I
my
haven't
time with the bad things? We know
I haven't
Amazon
watched
is
any of it.
adapting God of War, right? I forget what studio, but like another production company is adapting Gears of War, right? We've got this Borderlands movie in production. I don't think I'll watch any of them. Like I don't think I'll even give them a chance,
Yeah, well,
because I'm
but again,
because
like
I'm
I don't.
so certain that I won't enjoy them,
But again, like I don't feel like I'm wasting my time, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I usually feel pretty entertained, like by like watching a lot of these things, and like usually like I'm never going to like lock myself into like going to a theater for this stuff because I like to be able to nope out of things when I feel like I need to.
Right.
Um, and so like I'm okay with watching this stuff if I can, like, usually if I feel, because I will usually feel entertained by it, and then the moment that I don't, then I dip
Yeah.
out of it. Like the time I watched Christian Slater in the Alone in the Dark movie.
Yeah.
Um,
And like all three of those studios, they can change my mind, right? Like if a
yeah,
trailer comes out and it looks amazing, then yeah, I'll probably give it a shot. But
yeah,
like I've seen Amazon outside of animated features try to do like high fantasy and sci-fi, and it just looks so budget.
yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
at it's like, how are they going to do God of War?
I think the
How
big,
could Amazon possibly do a good God of War?
I think
You
the
know?
big thing with God of War is I think the thing with God of War is kind of the same thing with Edith Finch, because like the interaction is such a huge thing. Like I want to be Kratos ripping the guys in half. I don't want to watch some other guy be Kratos ripping the guys in half. I want to do it.
See, and for me, God of War is like something I would be fine watching. I don't think the gameplay is like particularly engaging or particularly necessary to the narrative. You know,
It's gonna feel like a Trojan.
um,
It's gonna feel like a Trojan War series
Yeah.
or like movie, or
yeah,
like we've seen 300. Like we've seen these like Mediterranean.
right. But
I
we've
don't.
not seen Amazon even give any of their shows the budget of 300,
Yeah.
even. And like,
Well, I mean,
like I
how much?
don't know.
How much did Ring of Power get?
That I don't know. I did not watch that.
Yeah.
I did, or Rings of Power, or whatever.
Yeah,
It was it was disappointing in the fact that it was only okay.
yeah.
And yeah, it is what it is. I've seen a lot of criticisms on it, but it was a I wouldn't say that you have to watch it, but I also, if someone's like watching it, I wouldn't be like, why?
Yeah, right, right, right. And I feel the same way with all these things, right? Except for maybe Borderlands. But like,
Yeah, I
like
have no, I
the
don't.
Gears of War movie, I'm like, can you honestly tell me that that's not going to look like Live Die Repeat? You know what I mean? Like that's what that movie's going to
I
look
mean, I
like.
had fun with that movie.
Like,
I had fun watching Tom Cruise respawn like 10 times. So I'm okay with it.
yeah,
But I watch a lot of bad stuff though.
We have all watched CW shows,
Yep.
so
yeah.
like
That's good
I
stuff.
still do, and they are bad. They are bad.
Yeah.
But I get enjoyment from those that I will not get from Borderlands the movie or Gears of War the movie.
You don't know,
The only way that I'm getting any
might.
enjoyment out of the Gears of War movie is if they show Dom's wife getting shot with that giant gun.
Wow. Wow. He said it.
But
He said it.
yeah,
Comment.
But there are also like, so for me, I think that I think sometimes about how like I don't have the mind for making things like that, because like I hear about like an upcoming adaptation. I'm like, well, what is that? Like I heard about Henry Cavill making a Call of Duty movie, and like I've seen like all these different
Warhammer.
war movies, and like I just don't wonder. I'm like, well, what is a Call of Duty movie exactly? You know,
I think if you do a Call of Duty movie, it's got to be like the characters that have carried through the series. Because there are people that care about what the fuck's the guy's name? Pierce Price, whatever the fuck his name is.
the cigar.
Like yeah, like there are
They
people that
have
care
names?
about those characters. Yes, believe it or not, there are some reoccurring Call of Duty characters. And like
They have names. They're not just
Yeah.
numbered.
and like we forget, like Call of Duty is one of the only games I can think of where I have friends
Mm-hmm.
who that is the only thing that they play. and they play it every year, every new one, and that's like more normal than what we do. That's more normal than jumping from game to game to game.
Sure.
Like I mean, there's people who do that with a lot of sports games too.
Right.
And,
yeah, exactly.
I know some people that they only play fighting games.
Right. So a Call of Duty
most
movie, I
of the
think, could
time
do very well.
Most of the times they'll switch in between, and they're not just like playing one, unless like
Right.
they're trying to go like pro or like go to tournaments for a certain game.
Yeah, it's not to say I think a Call of Duty movie is going to be good, but I think it could do well.
I guess, like, I don't even know why, like, it hadn't occurred to me that they could just, because like every game has its own like storyline or whatever, and I guess they could just like pick one of like the 1,000 games that have been made in that franchise and like adapt one of those or whatever. But so I just have no idea why that never occurred to me. But like,
well, I mean, think about like all the names we're listing off, right? Like you said, like Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
Call of Duty, like these are huge fucking IP. Like they're trying to make something that's going to appeal to the most people.
Everybody knows what Call of Duty is,
right? I mean, and sometimes you get something good, like seemingly The Last of Us, and sometimes you get Dragon Ball Evolution. But
I think that like it is a bit easier for these like companies making it into like movies and TV shows in the newer games, just because like the models and obviously the storylines can be bigger because there's like the technology for these games exist for them to be much larger and more intricate. The models are normally a lot better. They do a lot of like mocap for a lot of these things where the characters are like supposed to be very realistic looking people. So they have like already all this information and thought process put out for them. That's like like compare even like the newer Call of Duties to like Contra as far as like depth of story and
I would
like
love a fucking Contra movie. That'd be fun. If in this Gears of War movie they're not giant slabs of meat, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I want them to be the biggest, beefiest guys I ever seen in my fucking life.
The definition of beefcake.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want. I want the biggest beefcakes.
Units.
Like CG their muscles as much as you need to. I don't care. Just make them huge. All right?
Put all of them on the highest doses of steroids we can find.
Whatever you got to do, and give Dominic Santiago the biggest gun you can find. Like, give him that fucking gun from Who Framed Roger Rabbit with all the talking bullets in it, and let him shoot his wife with that.
You know what? It's funny that you bring up Contra though, because like Contra obviously tried to copy a lot of movies. It was going backwards for the time. You get the Rambo Commando box art, but also like the obvious xenomorph inspired enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would still very much watch that. I was just every time I think about adaptations though, like my mind always goes to the fact that Battleship got turned into a movie and that I watched that movie 2 times.
In theaters?
No, I watched it twice. It came to HBO and I watched it 2 times.
Okay. No, that's
run, don't walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
To see Battleship.
That's a little bit more understandable than watching it twice in theaters.
You know what we need more than video game adaptations though? We need more movies that are about video games that don't exist. I need more of those because I really like those.
I am okay with that because what was the I think it was Ryan Reynolds that did like the new guy or whatever, the good guy, free guy, whatever, where he was just like,
I don't know.
He was an NPC in like a video game.
Yeah.
And he gets like player powers. That was garbage.
I feel like those are always bad. Like Sword Art Online, fuck that show, Like, I don't know.
Well,
like
I'm thinking. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but like it was some
there's
movie
some
about
that are good that are like the more violent ones, like I can't think of the names right now. I know like kind of like similar to Gantz or
Gantz is awesome, but that's not
Gantz is
really
very cool.
adapting a video game at all.
No,
no, but
I said
well,
something about like more than adapting a video game, making something about a video game that doesn't exist because I like
But
that.
Gantz isn't really a video game. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I guess I could see how you would.
Yeah, they got the
But and
points.
there's
They
like
got the
there's like
loadouts.
that's
Sure.
what I'm saying, it's like Gantz in the aspect of like it like they that's kind of how it works where the people get transported to the video game
Yeah.
in that way.
If you
And,
die in the
like,
game, you die for real. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah, those that are like normally like really
I'm
violent.
trying to remember the name of this fucking movie. There's some movie that came out like in the like mid to late 2000s about a fucking video game that kills you in real life, and I can't fucking remember it. But
Well,
I had heard they were going to do like a remake or a sequel to The Last Starfighter. You guys remember that?
I remember that.
No.
I remember that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last Starfighter is fucking old today, but basically this kid is really awesome at a video game, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
But the video game has been put there
yes.
by aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I've totally seen this. I actually have. No, because
Well, apparently they're making a new one of that. So.
Oh. That's
Yeah.
okay.
I want something. I want someone to do something like The Wizard, but with like a different video game.
You mean like Fred Savage, Jenny Lewis, The Wizard?
Yeah.
I mean, I still like that movie.
Yeah. But like,
and it was just a shameless advertisement,
yeah,
you know.
Super Mario Brothers 3 isn't the new game anymore, so we need someone to do it for another game. That's
right.
The
Super Mario Odyssey 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And you meet up with some tough kid who's got like a special Joy-Con.
Yeah. So I'm going to this fucking.
And instead of going, we're not going to California this time. We're going to New York. You know, whatever.
I'm going to the Super Mario Odyssey tournament. And I gotta like my little brother is like super good at Super Mario Odyssey, so I'm taking him, and we're gonna win this grand $1,000 prize. So
we need a video game movie that like forces them to make it into an actual video game, like a Jumanji level video game movie.
You know what we fucking need? We need someone to make adapt video power into a movie.
No, because you're thinking that they're gonna make video power like fucking Thunderdome or Death Race or something like that.
Thinking that I was thinking more like
some fucking post-apocalyptic video power.
No, like that's a good idea, but that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking more like again like a The Wizard situation, except like we're going to video power this time.
We're got to make our way across the country.
To video power.
Right.
And then like there's like there's a whole thing. It's because it's a road trip movie too, right? So we're going to video power, and all these things happen. Then we get there, we meet the video master. And
are you still putting game cases on your person?
Yeah, because that's the big payoff with video power, right? Okay. Is you want to watch the kid do the spree, and they always fuck it up. But like you want to watch them do it. But like they get to video power, and the video master is kind of a dick because he knows too much about video games. And then at the end you get to watch them do like in slow motion. He's grabbing the games, and there's that whole payoff at the end. I think that would work as long as enough people remember what video power is.
It's only us. It is only us. I've talked to people our age that don't remember what video power is.
Man,
it is you and me.
Wild.
I'm not silent just to be polite. It's because I have literally nothing to add.
So video power was a game show where you go
a video game show.
And like you answer trivia questions about video games.
Or I am aware of what it is because of y'all.
It's better than Nick Arcade.
You play actual games, not just the green screen bullshit.
Well, on Nick Arcade they played actual games too, but like
but it was always like Chuck Rock, you know.
Yeah. And they were always so bad at the games.
Yeah.
They were always terrible at Sonic the Hedgehog or Chuck Rock or ActRaiser or whatever the fuck. All these kids were just bad at games. And then at the end of it, what do they win? They win an Encyclopedia Britannica. It was garbage. Yeah. Garbage gifts. So.
I know I was trying to like eventually segue to like some of the other stuff we talked about, but I did have a lot of fun talking about these, even though we've talked about video games and movies a lot.
From this angle though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all have anything to add before I close out the show?
I mean, look, if you like them, watch them. You know, if you like Castlevania the anime, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. You can watch it. You can enjoy
But
it.
also, you should
You
acknowledge
know?
the writing is not the best. I've watched all
Yeah.
of it, and I agree. But
I mean,
the
look,
fight scene,
Shanae, you had a good point, right? I like a lot of those CW shows. A lot
Yeah,
of them.
yeah. Gossip
You
Girl is
know?
the shit.
I will once again say I'm a raccoon. I fucking love garbage. And but but I also do like some good stuff too. And
Yeah.
Castlevania is I think enjoyable for the animation, 100%.
Also,
For
if you
me
make video
personally,
games now, be precious with your IP, retain ownership,
yes.
and you don't have to let people make shitty movies out of them.
Yeah.
Um, anything you want to add, Ryan?
I think it's garbage that on the Mortal Kombat Cartoon Express show, they killed 0 people. 0 fatalities
Yeah.
on a Mortal Kombat cartoon show. I think that's fucked up.
Well, and it was USA, right?
Yep.
Gentrif
So, like, they were allowed to. They
Yeah.
could have.
Yeah.
You know?
it's
0
gentrifying
fatalities.
Yeah.
murder.
So
Yeah. So we are on most podcast apps like Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes. We also on YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. We have a Discord that will be linked. And bye, guys.
Bye bye.
bye.